So we are expecting the Warrior, and it is going to be the Warrior coming out from Kit Kats, and pretty much forced into this. And this is really the key match here, I would have to say, in this series, because you talked about how strong you feel the Miracle Rogue is against Hunter, and I mean, if Kit Kats loses, or sorry, my mistake, if Puffin loses here, he's forced to play Hunter into that Miracle Rogue, and that's
right.
Really not the situation he wants at all.
Something really interesting to note is that Realz actually mulliganed a Gadget Zane Auctioneer in his opening hand here. I'm not sure I agree with that, but one of the cards I know it's super important in this matchup, which Realz happens to have in his deck, is Assassin's Blade.
Okay.
One of the
he's
major
really just digging for that.
Right. One of the major game plans that Miracle Rogue will have when it has Assassin's Blade in its deck is it wants to play Assassin's Blade and use a couple of deadly poisons to start putting a lot of pressure on the Warrior players. And the follow-up play with that is, again, a card that Puffin happens to be running in his deck, which is Harrison Jones.
Yep.
You want to force them to Harrison Jones and then follow up with Leroy's and Shadow Steps.
Yep.
So Puffin doesn't know that he's playing Leroy quite at this point, but Realz knows he's playing Leroy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually mulliganing for Assassin's Blade when he makes this one.
It would make a lot of sense. And one thing it was interesting. Puffin was really hesitating on his mulligan on if he wanted to keep that shield block or not. Now, I mean, what do you think about that? That was obviously a hard decision for him. He had his mouse hovered over for about 30 seconds, then he mulliganed it, and then he kept waiting for a while longer. He was really thinking hard about that. So, I mean, do you feel that was the right choice to mulligan that? What do you think he was looking for in terms of dropping that?
One of the major tools that Warrior has against Miracle Rogue deck is being able to stay so far out of burst that it's difficult for them to kill you. So using armor up every turn is of pretty critical importance. And then furthermore, shield block ends up being important because it extends that lead that you have over your opponent's potential burst. So when he's keeping that shield block, that's exactly what he's thinking about, is how his game plan is so heavily affected because he knows exactly what his opponent's playing. So I can only imagine that's the reason you would want to keep it.
Makes a lot of sense. And he is going to be able to deal with that quite nicely. Gets the card draw, finishes it off with the Cruel Taskmaster. Always nice to get value out of those Cruel Taskmasters. They can be so effective, especially in the early games. Also, obviously, to activate on the card draws and things like that can be a very nice combo with the Acolytes, or even just to enrage your Grommash later on, things like that.
So one of the major tools that Warrior has, again, is its very efficient yet specific answers to everything. So Cruel Taskmaster coming in. But something that's really interesting to note is that Realz had a deadly poison in his hand, and he didn't use it to kill this Cruel Taskmaster. Instead, he chose to use a 2-point Eviscerate. And what that's showing is two things. Number one, his plan to poison up an Assassin's Blade later in the game. And number two, his anticipation of something either like an Acolyte of Pain or a Kor'kron Elite. You don't want to alert your opponent that you have poison if they play Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah,
otherwise,
so
they can wait for it and use it with Whirlwinds or something like that. But in this position, despite Realz's, I think, poor draw, I think it's I'd hate to say it's a big mistake to mulligan Auctioneer, but I personally believe it is. He's finding himself now in a really delicate position where just one small misturn can end up costing him the game.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of spells in his hand. If he still had that Auctioneer, it could be a huge turn for him. I mean, he has a lot of card draw potential had he drawn that, but maybe it was just trying to take a risk, get a little bit greedy with that, trying to hope that he would draw it a little bit later on his mana curve. And wow, he's actually thinking about attacking the face here.
Whoa,
which is very interesting.
That is a really aggressive play if that's what he chooses to do. I'm not sure what he intends to follow up with if that's the play he makes.
I don't really understand that. Why would you do that over just clearing? I mean, it seems like. How is he going to deal with that next turn?
Well,
he has to deal with the Kor'kron Elite eventually.
If he chooses to attack here, what he's saying is that he believes he has to get a little bit lucky in order to kill his opponent.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to force through a bunch of damage to do it. And of course, Warriors intends to use armor up almost every single turn for the rest of the game. So you have to be able to put together a way to kill them. But that's why Auctioneer is so important in this spot, is because it allows you to not only dig to your huge burst cards, but it allows your burst cards to not be used.
Okay, he's going to Blade Flare, so that's why he's doing it.
I like this play a lot, actually.
Yeah, so he is going to be able to play out the 6/6 Van Cleef. Very nice. Attacks the face, Blade Flurries, kills it off that way. And I mean, now, what's the play here? You could obviously deal with it like next turn with like Gorehowl or something, but I mean, you can obviously do Taskmaster Execute. Do you just go for that?
I think Taskmaster Execute's the play here because you don't expect these players to be having a lot of big threatening minions unless you're anticipating a Malagos deck. But by the time he's able to use Malleus effectively, you not only have drawn another answer for it, but you may have been able to build up enough armor that you can do something like double shield slam at the end. So I like using the execute here simply
there's
because.
There's the Gadgetzan Auctioneer.
Oh wow, that's a huge draw too. So you're almost certainly going to be seeing a preparation and conceal this turn.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I mean, he draws it off the Shiv, and especially knowing the execute's not there as well. Do you think you 100% have to conceal regardless?
I think you have to conceal it. One of the reasons that conceal is in this deck, Assassin's Blade's a good draw. But one of the reasons conceal is in this deck is to protect your Gadgetzan Auctioneer from decks that have a lot of removal spells. And of course, that's what Warrior is known for. It's very efficient and specific answers to things. So when he conceals this Auctioneer, Sans a lucky Ragnaros hit, which it looks like he's going to go for, or something like a lucky Brawl. There's really not any way to kill it, but Senor del Fuego hits the board. And suddenly we've got ourselves a coin flip scenario. And this is a huge turn if you're Puffin, but it looks like that Ragnaros hit the face instead.
Yeah.
So preparation and sap is going to be coming in. Oh, and suddenly this game is looking real bad.
The Leroy now. He has the Cold Blood Leroy as well.
And there's
the Assassin's Blade. He has the Shadow Staff. Oh my god. This is starting to get pretty nasty.
This is a bunch of damage that's going to be coming into the next 2 turns. And it's on the back of a very unfortunate flip for Puffin, but mad respect. When you got to flip the coin, you got to flip the coin. But
yeah, he went for it, man. You got to give him, he's got balls.
Again, this is the power of Gadgetzan Auctioneer showing he can just draw your entire deck.
Oh, and he gets the Deadly Poison.
Wow, and a Deadly Poison for the Assassin's Blade. Spam that Gadgetzan Auctioneer emote now because he is doing work. This is an insane amount of damage.
Yeah, it is, man. It's pretty crazy. He's going to be able to do so much damage to the face here.
13 damage coming across.
Oh my god.
And he still has to deal with this Auctioneer.
Yeah, and he has.
And he's got to deal with the Assassin's Blade.
Well, and he has the Shadow Step Leroy next turn, plus the Assassin's Blade.
This is a really tough spot if you're Puffin.
Oh, he has Harrison Jones though. That's very nice.
But you notice an issue is he's got so many cards in his hand, and he's got so many tools already. Does he even need more tools? He's got to play it simply to stem damage at this point.
Yep, and he's going to be able to do that. And
so that belongs in a museum. And this cruel taskmaster is going to take out this Auctioneer. He's got 10 cards in his hand. What do you even do?
Yeah.
You got to armor up. Because if you don't armor up, you're dead to Leroy.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that's the only way. And I mean, he's counting his cards in his hand right now. He was just kind of looking through that, thinking maybe about playing the Acolyte or something. But I think he is going to armor up here.
Ooh. You know, something interesting to note is if your opponent doesn't have Leroy, you can actually kill him next turn if you play Fiery Warx.
Yeah. Wow.
Because of the Whirlwind and the Grommash activation. So 10 cards in hand, of course, gives you a lot of options. But we've already seen what Gadgetzan Auctioneer did. This is a tough choice for Puffin because he wants to kill his opponent next turn, but he also wants to live.
Living is very nice.
Yeah, living is really important.
It's high up on the priority list here. So yeah, that is a tough call, man. I mean, he's going to go with the safer move. Looks like he's going to Whirlwind
I like the armor up. Ooh, he's using this Whirlwind actually to protect this from Auctioneer backstab.
Okay.
I kind of like that.
It's a pretty intelligent play. So he is going to have that down. We do see.
Is that lethal now?
I mean, okay.
6-12. He's got 14 damage.
Oh, wow. So that armor up, man. That armor up.
Oh my gosh.
Looking like it's going to pay off. But still, even if he survives this turn, can Puffin really finish him off on the next turn? This is going to be a very, very close match.
Well, again, 10 cards in his hand. He has to be considering Grommash at this point.
Yeah,
the opponent's just showing a lot of cards. They just took a lot of time thinking. That Whirlwind might send him the signal that his opponent doesn't have Grommash, but it's still going to be in the forefront of your mind. But I think what Realz is more concerned with is how he actually kills his opponent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And I mean, do you think there's any chance he just goes for Leroy this turn, just getting the damage out? I mean, even if he can't completely lethal him, if he can get him to 1 HP, do you think you just go for it and hope he can finish him off the next turn? Because with 10 cards in your opponent's hand, you're at 16 HP. Do you think you can afford to just wait?
I don't like taking him down to 1 HP because the Warrior's going into 9 mana next turn. So something he also has to be mindful of is Alexstrasza.
Yeah,
so if he uses all of his cards right now and isn't able to follow up super strong, and your opponent does have Alexstrasza, you've just lost the game. So I like this play a lot because this is going to force his opponent to deal with his board position. And again, once he's finding his opponent again in lethal range, and he's going to be drawing 2 cards if this loot order dies. So I think that's his strongest play coming into this turn.
Well, the Corcoran League comes out, a lot of different plays he could here. He obviously can just, he has the Ragnaros, he has the Gorhal, he has, and it's Grommash still. a lot of different ways he could go with this, and it'll be interesting to see exactly what he is going to choose. It's just such a, like, at this point in the game, there's so many different ways you can go that it becomes pretty difficult to actually make the perfect decisions.
One of the things that I'm looking at is that he's chosen to armor up last turn, which indicates to me that he's going to choose to armor up this turn. So you're actually looking at 7 mana instead of 9 mana. So it does cut a little bit into his potential plays, but as many cards as he has, he actually doesn't have that many choices. He's not going to use Fiery Wax to clear one of these minions, again, because he's concerned with his life total. Do
you think he's just going to go then for like a Kor'kron Elite plus an Acolyte?
Gosh, I think you got to use the Kor'kron Elite here.
Kor'kron Elite and Acolyte, or I mean, he's going to armor up. So, I mean, just interesting. Okay, so he's going to maybe Shield Slam out. Well, I mean, he could even double Shield Slam technically and then trade the Harrison into the other, but then... I mean,
you know what play I really like is double Shield Slam.
Double Shield Slam and SI and trade the Harrison into the...
Play the Kor'kron Elite and attack the 2/1.
Yeah.
Put 5 damage into your opponent's face, and then play Fiery... What, does he have enough mana to do that? 4, 5, 6? He doesn't have enough mana to do that.
No, he doesn't.
But he is going to put 5 across the board, which...
Now, what do you think about Shield Slamming that versus double Shield Slamming the SI to take out the SI? Because now you have to trade a minion to take out the SI.
Well, he's making a play, I think, that's very similar in effect. He's going to be using this Kor'kron Elite. I think
he's going to maybe use the
trade here, and then he's going to use the weapon to attack across. So this actually puts his opponent in lethal range next turn if he doesn't die. And given that he's at 14 life and his opponent didn't kill him last turn, I think it's a pretty good chance he lives this turn as well.
Yeah. Very interesting, very interesting.
Wow, and a second Shadow Step instead!
Oh my god.
Leroy Jenkins! At least Puffin's got chicken, but that's going to be game 3 over to Realz on the back of a little bit of help from the top of his deck. Man. But a lot of outs, mind you, left in Realz' deck to win this game.
Oh, he's trying to make it look like he doesn't have it.
And he's going for the BM finish!
Oh no. Realz is going to take it. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a fight night where he BM'd pretty hard and then ended up losing the rest of the series?
That much I'm not sure about. I know that I've BM'd plenty and lost games due to misclicks, but
well, there was like not the actual game, but I remember hearing